Welcome to today's lesson, everyone. Wherever you are around the world, welcome to Feast on Torah. I'll just drive straight in to say, have you ever felt like your advice, love, or wisdom was wasted on someone who just didn't value what you have to say or appreciate it? Now, in Matthew chapter 7, verse 6, Yahushua, our Messiah, gives a striking metaphor that says, do not throw your pearls before swine. And some of you have been doing that for some time now, throwing your pearls at someone who treats it as a piece of wood. Not only that, preachers and teachers hardly ever mention the dog that is mentioned in the same verse. Most people only focus on the swine, but we need to look at both the dog and the swine and their characteristics. Now, do not throw your pearls before swine. What does this mean? And how can we apply it to our daily lives? So let's look at the actual verse, which we'll find in Matthew chapter 7, verse 6. And I am reading from the Amplified Bible. And it reads, do not give that which is holy to dogs, and do not throw your pearls before pigs, for they will trample them under their feet and turn and tear you to pieces. So, family, what does this mean? Today we'll break down this meaning of dogs and pigs in this passage and how it applies to our lives and how we can practice wisdom, discernment, and all the rest of it. So let's dive into this timeless wisdom and uncover its deeper message. First, let's look at the understanding in context, which is written in the book of Matthew. Matthew chapter 7 that we just read, verse 6. Now, this is a part of the Sermon on the Mount where Yahushua teaches about three things: judgment, humility, and discernment. And Yahushua shifts focus from not judging others harshly in Matthew chapter 7, verses 1 to 5, to recognizing when to step back from sharing holy things with those who don't value it. If we look in Proverbs 23, verses 9, Proverbs 23, verse 9, again from the Amplified Bible, what does it say? Do not speak in the ears of a fool, for he will despise the godly wisdom of your words. So there you are, family. You and I must learn when to walk away, because as the old saying goes, you can lead a horse to the water, but you cannot make it drink. In other words, you can provide someone with an opportunity and godly wisdom, but you can't force them to take it. Isn't that the truth? I'm sure if you reflect on your own life, you can think of someone that comes to mind, or someone who knows someone who is like that. Now, Yahushua teaches his disciples to discern who they can correct. And he taught they should not correct people who are like dogs or swine, people who are unwilling to receive correction, and people who will respond with antagonism. Now, in Matthew 7 1 to 3, he also taught and he warned his disciples against the dangers of judging others. And what did he teach them about? He said, don't judge others harshly. He told them that as they judged others, they themselves would be judged with the same standard or measure they use to pass out judgment to other people. Now, the message is about being mindful, family. we need to be mindful of where you invest your time, your energy, and your wisdom. Now, alert, alert. Not everyone will value what you have to offer. And that's okay, because this isn't about arrogance, but about discernment. Okay? You must learn when to shut up and walk away. Proverbs 23, verse 9 says, "Do not speak in the ears of a fool, for he will despise the godly wisdom of your words." And we must also learn to set boundaries, okay? Let's look at Proverbs again. What does it say? Do not. It's a command. Do not speak in the ears of a fool. Why? You're wasting your time. Why? Because that fool, he or she, will despise your godly wisdom. Everything that you're putting into them is totally wasted. And we as people, we must learn how to set boundaries. Now, boundaries are healthy. We must have an understanding that boundaries are not rejection. It is not rejection, family, but it is an act of self care and wisdom, because people will wear you out if you are not careful. So you must know when to stop. Boundaries remind us that it is not unkind to step back, but guarding what is sacred help us grow spiritually. Now, while sharing the message of faith, it is important. Timing and the readiness of the listener are equally crucial, family. Oh, yes, you can spend your time talking to someone and they are not listening. They are not interested, and your message is falling on deaf ears. Yahushua isn't discouraging generosity, but he's encouraging wise stewardship of spiritual treasures. And here we see the dogs and their symbolism. He taught them, the disciples, to do what? To consider dogs and swine. Now, you mentioned pearls in the verse. Pearls represent valuable truths, wisdom, and insight, while swine symbolize those who may not appreciate or respect them. And in biblical times, dogs were often seen as wild, unclean scavengers. And this represents people who mock, reject, or disrespect spiritual truth. And there are people, I'm sure that you know, who fits into this category. Dogs and swine in the Israelite culture were considered unclean animals. Dogs was a common term for contempt, used all over the scripture as an insult. And you'll find some of those in 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 43. You'll also find references of dogs in Isaiah 56, verses 10 to 11. And you'll also see that in Philippians chapter 3, verse 2. And not only that, you'll also find references about dogs and what the Bible thinks of dogs and the people who fits those category in Revelation chapter 22 verse 15. And I will read this from the Amplified Bible that gave us a breakdown of who dogs represent in when it speaks about the dog's attitude in the Bible. Who are these people? Let's read Revelation 22 verse 15. Outside are the dogs. Who are they? The godless, the impure, those of low moral character, and the sorcerers with their intoxicating drugs and magic arts, and the immoral persons, the perverted, the molesters, and the adulterers, and the murderers, and the idolaters, and everyone who loves and practices lying. In other words, deception, cheating. There you have dogs' attitude. And Yahushua commands his disciples not to judge or condemn others, but at the same time, he wants them to be discerning. And his disciples, his examples, giving something holy or sacred to dogs is likely to result in them turning, I mean the dogs, turning on them and to tear them to pieces. And the same thing can happen to you. You're giving away valuable treasures, and the very same people who you're trying to help will turn on you and tear you to pieces. So the thought process is as follows: discern a fault in someone else who is a brother. That person should be a follower, a believer. Okay, discern a fault in someone else who is a brother or a sister. Number two, assume you have that same fault yourself and deal with it, which represent the log in your own eye. Point number three, then review the fault of the other person, because you can now see clearly why, because you have dealt with your own log. Number four, next thing you have to do is to evaluate whether that brother is in a state of mind, or a sister in a state of mind, to receive your advice. Or if they are not in a position to listen, then what do? You don't bother with giving them any advice or give them any correction, because they are not in a position to receive it. And the message is about being mindful of where you invest your time, where your energy goes, and where you invest your wisdom with those who do not put any value or appreciation on those kind of things. They're not interested in wisdom. Okay, they are not. And so that's why you need to be alert and be wise how you are investing your time with these people when you are departing and giving them wisdom and they do not appreciate it one little bit. Now let's look at the pig. In Leviticus chapter 11, verse 7 to 8, you'll find, I'm not going to read that, but these references. In that passage, it states that pigs are unclean and should not be eaten or touched by Israelites. Obviously, it's unclean. If you also look in Mark chapter 5, verse 13, in this story, Yahushua and his disciples encounter a dangerous man possessed by demons in a cemetery. And Yahushua allows the demons to enter a herd of pigs, which then ran into the sea and drowned. So that should give you an idea what our Messiah thinks of pigs. Because as far as he's concerned, demons are unclean. So the best place for them is into unclean pigs. And what happened to them? They went over the cliff and drowned themselves. We also could see in 2 Peter chapter 2, verses 21 to 22, but I'm just going to read verse 22. It said, the thing spoken of in the true proverb has happened to them. The dogs return to his own vomit, and a sow, which is the pig or the swine, is washed only to wallow again in the same mire. So, for example, you have told someone not to do something which is so immoral, which is so wrong. They listen and they walk away, and guess what they do? They go right back and do exactly what you told them not to do. It's like a pig going back and washed in the same mud as before. Nothing's changed. So the lesson to draw from this is to remember not everyone will value what you have to offer, and that's okay. As I said before, this isn't about arrogance. It's all about discernment, learning to focus on those who are ready to receive and appreciate your guidance, is operating in the Most High's wisdom. When you do that, when you take precaution and be very careful how you deliver that, you are now operating in wisdom. And our Messiah example makes it absolutely clear that if we first examine our own sin and then and only then advise someone else To remove a speck out of their eye is to provide something holy. And holy simply means set apart, special, and valuable. And by removing the speck from our brothers or our sisters' eyes is providing them the opportunity to develop their relationship and grow closer to Yahushua and his righteousness. So it is genuine good deed to prove and to provide correction out of an authentic motive. Don't attend people and try to tell people from a fake point, but be real, be authentic. Let your motive be authentic to others. But if the person is not in a position to receive correction, they won't be helped at all, no matter what you say. They cannot be helped. It will result more likely that you're trying to feed. It will be like, you're trying to feed meat to a pack of wild dogs. And as it's you who is doing the feeding, the dogs you are feeding, you are the one that's most likely that will get bitten. That brother or that sister will try to tear you to pieces if you try to correct them, and your reward will be for them to try to destroy you in a reprisal. In other words, tear you to pieces. That's where you need wisdom. Who are you wasting your time talking to? Who's not listening? We're day in and day out, year in and year out, this person or these persons who you have spoken to over and over again, and they turn around and backbite you and slander you. It's time you must learn to walk away. However, to not offer the holy advice of correction to someone who will tear you to pieces like a pack of dogs, I said, the same goes for the pearls of wisdom to swine like people, particularly the wisdom to uncover faults and replace them with constructive behavior. The same method applies to the pig. Yah's wisdom, his truth, his word, his righteousness are like pearls. Pearls are precious, family. Pearls belong on something or someone you treat as special, like a necklace or a wedding ring. You wouldn't think to throw a group of pearls into a pigsty now, would you? No one would in their right mind. Yet we waste the same behavior talking to people who are not interested, who do not put any value on the word of the Most High when you are trying to correct them or influence them in godly behavior. Now, the swine, as we spoke about, won't appreciate the pearls. Why? Because they have no understanding of the value of pearls. Just like people you're speaking to, they have no idea of what you're trying to say. They put no value on it whatsoever. Therefore, they will gain no benefit from them, from what you're saying. And they simply will trample the pearls under their feet, treating it just like any other slop. Any other slop. As far as they're concerned, they do not recognize pearl. Pearl to them looks like slop. And when Matthew 7:6 said, do not give that which is holy to dogs, and do not throw your pearls before pigs, for they will trample them under their feet and turn and tear you to pieces. That is a clear warning and a very good piece of holy advice. If someone would not recognize the pearl's wisdom within your correction, which was intended in helping them, remove the speck in their eye, then don't waste the pearl of wisdom, which is of great value, because wisdom is. Do not waste it on these people who are not willing to recognize the value. Because if they prefer foolishness, you should let them wallow in it until such time, until they are ready to listen to godly correction. There are no instructions given in the scriptures, family, for us to control or put down others. There is no such thing, because we all have an appointment to stand before the Most High and give an account, and so will those people. By discerning our brothers and sisters' shortcomings, that should help us to see our own faults. That frees us then to discern whether we are truly in a position to offer them correction in a manner that helps them while also avoiding unnecessary contention and trouble for ourselves. We don't need that. We are called to peace. Yahushua knew that we would see faults in others, but it is not our job to sit in Yah's seat and pass judgment up on our brothers and sisters, but we are to evaluate ourselves first. We must deal with our own faults by observing faults in others, and we are to judge whether that person is the right attitude to listen. Are they ready to receive correction or not? If someone is unwilling to listen to truth and it angers them, then we should leave them alone. Why? Because they will be the worse for it. And it is their choice. As I said, remember that they too will stand before the Most High and they will have to answer for their actions. It is not your responsibility. Romans 14:10, Amplified Bible reads, but you, why do you criticize your brother? Or you again, why do you look down on your believing brother or regard him with contempt? For we will all stand before the judgment seat of Elohim, who is also judge. Who alone is judge. That's Romans 14:10. For we will all stand before the judgment seat of Elohim, who also is judge. And if we know a brother or a sister with the characteristics like the dogs or the swine mentioned in the scriptures, Yahushua's parable highlighted that if these people are unable to receive the gift of the truth of correction and perhaps only perceive correction as a threat, then he advised us not to share corrective truth with them. Leave them alone and walk away, because they will just trample it under their feet and then tear you to pieces. Again, in verse 6 of Matthew 7, it says it might be unpleasant to them because it exposes their sin as recorded. Okay, in John chapter 3, verse 20. They don't want to hear you correcting them. They're not interested. They get angry. And listen to John chapter 3, verse 20, Amplified Bible. For every wrongdoer hates the light and does not come to the light, but shrinks from it, for fear that his sinful, worthless activities will be exposed and condemned. And that's why they want to tear you to pieces, because you're drawing attention and ask them to fix what is wrong, to be correct, but they're not interested. They'd rather tear you to pieces. Okay, because now you're exposing their sinful, worthless activities. And this is about believers. Okay, about believers, people who pretend that they're walking with the Most High and they're the most wicked, evil deeds and behavior. You would never know that they're walking with the Most High by their behavior and by their actions. And as I said earlier in Romans 14:10, it's all about believing. But what? Let me read that again. But you, why do you criticize your brother? Brother what? Those who are walking in the faith. Or you, again, why do you look down on your believing brother or regard him with contempt? For we will all stand before the judgment seat of Elohim, who alone is judge. So these are brothers and sisters who are behaving very worldly and you can't talk to them. So leave them alone. And as I said, it applies to brothers and sisters. And Yahushua is speaking these parables regarding fellow disciples. And as believers, we have no obligation to correct someone who is not a brother, as instructed here in 1 Corinthians chapter 5, verses 9 to 11. Clearly states, I wrote you in my previous letter not to associate with sexually immoral people, not meaning the immoral people of this world. Did you hear that? Not of this world, or the greedy ones and the swindlers or idolaters, for then you would have to get out of the world and human society altogether. But actually, I have written to you not to associate with any so called believer. Brother, if he is sexually immoral or greedy or is an idolater, in other words, devoted to anything that takes the place of Elohim, or is a reviler, one who insults or slanders or otherwise verbally abuse others, or is a drunkard or a swindler, you must not so much as eat with such a person. There we have it. There we have it. And it's all about someone who said they're following the Most High, who said they're keeping the word, but their behavior and everything about them differs from what they're saying. And we're instructed have nothing to do with those people. So, conclusion for today's lesson. Family, identify areas in your own life where you may be giving too much to those who do not value it. Reflect on relationships, family. Reflect on advice you give or the way you share your faith. Also, reflect on conversations and relationships. Are you sharing wisdom with those who respect and value godly wisdom? May I encourage you, family, brothers, and sisters, to learn to recognize when to persist and when to walk away. Trust that the Most High will work in His own time, and that person or those persons, those people that you're trying to win, and they are totally ignoring what you have to say. It's a waste of time to try to correct someone who isn't in a position to listen. Trying to correct them will likely cause trouble without providing any benefit to them or to you. We need to protect what is valuable. Please be mindful of sharing your energy, your wisdom, and your faith with those who consistently reject or disrespect it. And also be patient and prayerfully offer your insight to the right people at the right time. Ask the Most High to lead you and to be aware and to be alert when to share the good news. But do not waste your time on those who are not interested. Ask for discernment and learn to walk away when necessary. So, as we reflect on this teaching, please remember that your wisdom and love are valuable. They are your pearls. Guard them, family, guard them well, and trust that Yah will guide you to those who are ready to receive them. Thank you so much. If this message resonated with you, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. By this time, I'm asking you to walk in wisdom. Until the next lesson, shalom.